Here's the truth about Airbnb in 2025, 2026. It can still be a great play, but only if you treat it like a real business with real numbers. Because the gold rush is over. The easy wins are gone. Regulations have tightened, Airbnb has shifted more responsibility onto hosts, and competition is smarter. But when a market matures, the people who win are the operators who niche down. They get pre-mission and run tight margins with great discipline. I've been in this game since 2017, and back then, a basic two-bedroom in a solid city could net you $2,000 to $4,000 a month profit without you needing to be special. Today, that same unit might net you 1 to 3 grand on the high end, often closer to the middle of that range, depending on seasonality and your competition. Because the headline is simple. To hit the same total profit today, you need more units or more skill or both. So is Airbnb worth it? Well, it depends. It depends on your model and your market and your math. The mistake is asking, is Airbnb good? The smarter question is, which version of Airbnb fits my capital, my risk tolerance, or my goals? Let me give you a framework that actually helps you decide. First, which is mindset. Stop thinking of Airbnb as a miracle income and start seeing it as a money tool, a side business that can fund your early retirement, kids' college, a travel fund, or a down payment machine while you keep your main career. Treat it that way, and Airbnb can be an incredible accelerator. It's when people try to build a giant empire overnight with no plan, no permits, and no reserves. That's when it gets ugly. Second is your numbers. The cleanest way to underwrite in today's market is on a per bed basis. My internal metric across multiple markets and unit types is that a healthy operation should target about $500,000 in net profit per bed per month when run correctly. That's not a guarantee, that's just my own personal target. Your job is to underwrite to that outcome, then stress test it. What happens to your net if occupancy drops 10%? What happens if your average daily rate softens by 15%? Can you still survive after platform fees, cleaning supplies, maintenance, permit costs, taxes, insurance, and your time? Third is regulation. Permission beats hope every day of the week. Before you look at furniture, look at the law. If your city requires a short-term rental license, can you qualify? If the HOA bans it, then you're done. If the city only allows hosted stays, meaning you have to be there, then you need a different model. Because mature markets favor operators who can navigate compliance and still deliver a standout guest experience. That's why the people winning now aren't lucky, they're disciplined. Now let's walk through the three models that matter in 2025, 2026, which is co-hosting, arbitrage, and ownership. You could do one or mix them depending on your goals. So let's start with co-hosting. If I were building from scratch today and wanted to scale quickly with the least risk, I'll co-host. It's low capital to start, and you can run it across several cities virtually. Your product is time and expertise for owners who don't want to manage the day-to-day. You can handle guest messaging, price turnovers, maintenance coordination, reviews, and revenue optimization. You can take a percentage of the gross profit, usually 15 to 30% depending on services, and you can build a book of contracted doors. The way to win in co-hosting in a mature market is to package real operator value, offer full stack guest messaging with AI coverage 24/7 so owners never wake up to a midnight emergency. You can manage maintenance with virtual assistants so little issues don't become guest complaints. And then you can optimize listings with professional photography, dynamic pricing, and seasonal packaging. And then you can layer in direct booking marketing so owners aren't just platform dependent. You're building them and you an email and SMN base that increases average length of stays so your commission never drops. With co-hosting, your underwriting is really about the owner's unit economics. Ask, is this property license eligible? What's the realistic ADR and occupancy for its comp set? What does net look like after cleaning, supplies, platform, and merchant fees, taxes, and your management fee? If the owner nets well and your fee is locked in by contract, you have a predictable, low-risk cash flow business that can scale fast. The next is arbitrage. That's where you lease a unit at market rent from a willing owner, then furnish it and re-rent it nightly or monthly to capture the spread. I'll be blunt. Arbitrage is the highest risk, thinnest margin model in a mature market unless you negotiate like a pro. It can still work, but only when the conditions are stacked in your favor. You need a long lease. Think 3 years with renewal options. You want an option to purchase if the owner sells so you don't get displaced by your own success. You need the right to short-term rent in writing, and you need a location where demand is durable across seasons and not just a summer sugar rush. See, arbitrage shines when you can secure a below-market lease from an owner who values certainty more than squeezing a few extra dollars, and a submarket with proven ADRs and license clarity. If the owner is considering selling, arbitrage can bridge them to a sale while you build a track record. And if you negotiated a first right of refusal, it can bridge you into ownership. If you can get those terms, or if the math only works at unrealistic high occupancy, skip it. In 2025, hope is definitely not a strategy. And finally, you have ownership. This is the model most people romanticize because you're building equity and cash flow, but it's the most capital intensive and the most compliance sensitive. Owning works beautifully in 3 situations. 1, you buy below market in a licensed vacation rental friendly jurisdiction, true second home markets with clear rules, not gray areas. Or 2, create a unique stay that commands premium ADRs, and think of boutique cabins, a small A-frame clusters, tiny home villages, desert gyms, or micro resorts in scenic zones where design and experience are the product. And then your third option, where you can buy in an international designation that you can actually plan to use, where your personal travel offsets carrying costs, and you understand the licensing and tax regimen on that ground. So when you own, the math is different. Your underwriting CapEx, operating expenses, debt service, reserves, and permit risks. You need to know your debt service coverage ratio tolerance, your break-even occupancy, your seasonality curve, and your downside plan if STR restrictions tighten. The upside is you control the asset. The downside is you carry all the risks. Ownership makes the most sense when your advantage is durable. A truly special location, a legally protected license, or a concept competitors can't easily copy. So let's talk operations for a minute, because this is where margin truly lives or dies. The platform fee is not your only cost. You got cleaning fees and turnaround times, supplies and consumables, damaged item replacement, merchant, and payment timing, taxes, software stack, PMS, dynamic pricing, channel management, insurance and liability, maintenance, and emergency response. And on your time or your team's time. If you're not tracking your P&L per unit and measuring RevPAR, which is revenue per available room, contribution margin after variable costs, and profit per bed, you're flying blind. And yes, Airbnb itself has matured. There's tighter enforcement of party bans and noise policies. Guests expect clarity on fees and checkout tasks. Review quality definitely matters more, and these changes favor operators who communicate clarity, price dynamically, and deliver a consistent experience. They punish people who set it and forget it. So who should get into Airbnb in 2026? If your goal is a cash flow sidecar that helps you hit life goals faster, you're willing to learn compliance and nail operations and treat this like a business, Airbnb can be fantastic. If you want a low-cost ramp-up, start with co-hosting. If you have a rare lease opportunity with strong terms and a proven zone, test a single arbitrage deal with real reserves and a 3-year view. If you're thinking long-term wealth, target ownership in permission markets or build a unique experience guests can't get somewhere else for cheaper. So who should not get into Airbnb? If you have no cash reserves, if you hate rules, if you think this is a shortcut to passive income, or if you're not willing to say no to deals that only pencil at fairy tale occupancies, or in a mature market where discipline is the alpha. Now let's talk funding, because scaling without draining your savings is possible. When I started, I used over $250,000 in business funding to furnish and launch my units. That capital helped me scale to more than $7 million in reservations across 50 plus apartments and 2 boutique hotels in Atlanta and in San Antonio. The playbook is simple. Build a lender-ready profile, stack 0% interest business credit strategically, and convert credit to assets that cash flow. Use that stack for furniture, setups, smart locks, and photography in the first few months of burn, not for plugging a bad deal. Keep utilization control, separate personal and business, pay on schedule, and move limits up as your reserve stabilizes. Banks fund systems. Show them that system. All right, so let me give you a quick decision tree because I want you leaving this video with clarity and no hype. If you're new and your capital is light and want speed, co-host first. Aim for a handful of owners with properties that already perform decently or could with better management. Virtual assistants for scheduling cleaning and maintenance, and then you have listing and pricing optimization as a part of your service, along with a direct booking build-out. Track your per-door gross and your average owner retention. Once you're at steady 5 figures a month in management fees, you have cash and confidence to add other models. If you have a very specific arbitrage opportunity-friendly landlord, written permission, 3-year lease terms with extensions, first right to buy, and a market where your comps support your ADR and occupancy in the off-season, then take one deal, not 10. Furnishing units with quality, not excess. Overbuild your cleaning list, keep reserves, and if the numbers hold through a weak quarter, you've earned the right to add a second. And if you're going towards ownership, be boring on the numbers and creative on the experience. Buy what you can hold through policy changes. Underwrite with conservative ADRs, test your stress scenarios, and include the cost of licensing, tax compliance, and professional management, even if you plan to self-manage, because time gets expensive at scale. If you're building something unique, design it for durability and maintenance. The Instagram shot gets the booking, the maintenance plan keeps the margin. And one more thing on niche. Saturation always creates opportunity for specialization. Family-friendly stays with baby gear and blackout curtains, pet-first stays with cold plunge and saunas, creator-ready stays with pro lighting and sound, or corporate nurse housing and insurance placements. You don't need to be everything to everyone. You need to be the obvious choice for someone. So is Airbnb worth getting in 2025, 2026? Yes, if you pick the right model for your goals, operate with permission, and respect the math. No, if you're hoping to beat a mature market with shortcuts and wishful thinking. The upside is still very real for disciplined operators. And when you frame it as a money tool, a sidecar that funds things that matter, Airbnb can still move the needle in a big way. If this helped, click the link in the description and I'll send you my per bed calculator, a 1-page underwriting sheet, and a funding roadmap so you can use to launch or relaunch the right way. And if you're serious about capital, I'll show you how to structure a lender-ready profile so banks and zero-interest business capital can fuel your setup without raiding your savings. Because I've seen this business through the hype cycle and the hard part. The gold rush is over. The pros just clocked in. See you on the next one.